to Chris Bertram. Do you have slides you need?
No, I don't need.
Okay, we're good.
This is one. Okay. Okay, so this is in many ways for me quite a strange conversation. So I've been blogging since 2002 and at Crooked Timber since 2003. And back then, I can tell you, universities were absolutely not interested in blogging, bloggers. Indeed, they weren't that interested in the internet. And now we have this phenomenon where universities and other corporate entities see blogging as a way of, getting down with the kids or whatever. And that seems very strange. It's partly very strange because, the world has moved on a long way since 2002 and 2003. Now we have Facebook and Twitter, neither of which existed back then. And the whole phenomenon of the blogosphere really erupted, I think, after 9/11, after the attack on the Twin Towers. And suddenly you had this vast array of citizen journalists out there who were arguing with one another, often in remarkably civil terms, given how quite a lot of that has degenerated since. And part of my motive for getting involved in blogging was two things. One is a kind of frustration as an academic at writing journal articles which would be read by a handful of people. The experience of really putting your heart and soul into something and then finding nobody read it is actually quite nice to engage with a wider public. And in the context of that post-9/11 conversation, I thought it was good to have ideas from political philosophy, from political theory, out there informing, contributing to that citizen conversation. Now, I started blogging in 2002, as I've said, but then, nightmare, the following year, I got asked to be head of department. And the commitment to writing blog posts on a regular basis looked just beyond me, but I had really caught the bug. And I thought, well, maybe the way to take this forward would be to set up a group blog with a bunch of other people. So I emailed a group of fellow academic bloggers and some non-academics, and we set up Crooked Timber in 2003. Now, that personnel have evolved over the years. We currently have 19 members of our collective, and we operate pretty much as an anarchic collective with no party line and no editorial control. So we've had some talk about themes and the need to kind of give everything a common feel. Well, there's absolutely none of that goes on at Crooked Timber. We do have a kind of behind-the-scenes email list where we discuss problems as they come up, but we certainly don't try to impose on one another. The only thing that a vote ever gets taken on is whether to admit a new person as a member. We're multidisciplinary, so we have contributors from a variety of disciplines, from philosophy, from political theory, from political science, from sociology, and from economics. And I think this is a great strength. We're not restricted to academics. So we've always had members who are non-academics, who are well-informed professional people, but who have a bit more experience of the wider world, in some ways the policy world. So we have Scott McLamee, who's a freelance journalist, Maria Farrell, who worked for ICANN, the Internet Governance Organization, and is now a consultant on Internet governance. Daniel Davis, in many ways, I think our strongest contributor is not an academic. He's a banker and stockbroker in London, and we have a couple of people who are self-employed who have an academic background. And we're international, so we have people who are based in the UK, in the US, in Ireland, in the Netherlands, in Singapore and Australia. And we also come from a variety of different nationalities. We're British, American, Belgian, Dutch, Irish, Australian, and Hungarian. So there's a variety of voices from a variety of different backgrounds, and I think that makes for an interesting and engaging conversation. So, okay, why a group blog? Well, I've mentioned the first reason, and the first reason is that it lightens the load. If you have a blog, you want it to have content which is going to keep people there, keep people reading, and it's very hard to do that week after week, let alone year after year, on a solo basis. It also provides a sense of community amongst the various bloggers. You get to know one another, and there's definitely a sense of group membership, group solidarity, and a sense of community also with the readership and the people who comment on a regular basis. I'll come back to them. And you get a variation of content. So there's been some talk about the need for themes and micro-themes. I happen to think that blogs work best when they aren't so tightly focused. Where they're very tightly focused, then you might get quite a narrow audience coming back to see what's up on the particular theme of their research interest. But if you have a variation of content and you're mixing academic stuff, stuff that depends on the research speciality of academics who are participants, together with much lighter stuff as well, stuff to do with culture and music and television and life in general, then I think you can keep an intellectually informed but varied audience in conversation with you in a way that's a lot harder to achieve if you're just doing the single thing. What are the good things about the experience of logging in Crooked Timber? Well, I think one thing that's been very good for me, and we've already had a mention of academic silos, is that you get to learn about cross-disciplinary literatures, and you get to learn, so that there are a lot of topics where you've got academics in their different departments and disciplines who are actually working on rather similar things to one another, but they don't know about one another. So if you're working on, as I am at the moment, on topics to do with migration and justice, there are people in social policy and sociology and geography and all of those areas who are working and thinking about migration and justice. Were it not for blogs and also other forms of social media, I think it would be much harder for us to know about one another. You also get to learn about stuff more generally. I've actually been to some very interesting places on holiday as a result of stuff my co-bloggers have posted at Crooked Timber. It's a great medium, I think, blogging for trying out snippets of ideas. So you've got some idea, you think it might be something that you could work into a journal article. It might be just something that you want to slip into the academic conversation more generally. It may not be a fully worked out thing, but it's something that you want to try out on an informed audience. And I think blogs are a great medium for a small post where you say, there's this issue in the literature, and actually I think that this might be a problem for the following reasons. What do you guys think? I think blogging's great for writer's block. It keeps you writing. It overcomes a lot of the reticence that people have about putting words on paper, or virtual paper as it were. So those have been good things. And also we've used the blog more systematically to run a series of book seminars around books that we have thought are noteworthy and important, often getting people from a variety of different disciplines and from no discipline at all to comment on a book and then get the author to respond. And I think those have been some of the best things we've done. We've even managed to get Paul Krugman, a Nobel Prize-winning economist contribute to a science fiction discussion, which was, I think, one of our high points. Okay, there are downsides. There are downsides. I mean, we have a lot of commenters. We have a very active community. Some of our commenters are fantastic people, lay people, other academics who contribute to the conversation. But you do get trolls. You do get people who are, monomaniacs, obsessives, even people who are quite malicious, and you have to deal with and you have to manage that. Blogging takes a lot of energy. It gives rise to a sense of obligation to a readership, and that can be quite draining too. And then there's the opportunity cost thing. It can be a distraction from other academic projects. So if you're feeling you have to write continuously on a range of topics and you're trying to complete a book on a different topic, that can be quite a problem. And I think when things go wrong, they can also go spectacularly wrong. We had one book seminar on a work by a noted anarchist anthropologist, which did go spectacularly wrong because he objected in forthright terms to the reading of his book that some of our contributors had made, and demanded that I do something about them. When I pointed out that we were ourselves an anarchist collective, this didn't go down very well. He said, I never would have worked with you if I'd realised that was the structure. And finally, I think to put yourself out there in the blogosphere, you need a reasonably thick skin, because people online, I mean, one thing I've noticed with people online over the years is that people have different personas online to the personas they have in the real world. So people who are quite, dull and reticent in real life can be actually quite engaging in on the blogosphere, and then people, because it's easier for them to overcome their shyness. And people who are just about right in the real world can be really over the top in online conversation, and that can make things quite difficult. So you have to have a thick skin. You have to be willing not to let that kind of online conversation get to you if you want to be an active participant in the blogging world. Okay, so I'll stop there. Thanks.
Okay.